I got a stray hair that only I care about. There you go. I think I got it.
Nice.
I trimmed my beard last night, but I
Yeah.
did it kind of in a hurry. So
Oh,
I don't know if I lined up very well.
you got some flyers. It looks good.
You look good.
Look
Your beard.
good.
Your
Your
beard
beard.
looks good.
Just a
Nice, man.
compliment for you about your beard being good. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Odd Testament podcast. My name is Ryan.
My name's Eric.
And today we are just a duo. We are not the trio today. Greg is sick. He is being a little wussy boy.
That's
and so
right.
we are holding down the fort without him. If you are here for a laugh, if you are exploring faith, or you're just you're looking for a fresh perspective on scripture, you've come to the right place. This is where we dive into the weird, strange stories and topics of the Bible. So thanks for joining us today, Eric. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to see if this was always meant to be a duo. And because what's the likelihood of him going back and listening to this? Like I'm going pretty low. So I'm ready to say all the things publicly that I've been wanting to say about my father.
Yeah.
And I'm ready.
Are we pushing Greg out right now?
Yeah.
Is this a coup?
I think so. I think this is what it is. Yep. Let's start
Awesome.
it.
Awesome.
It started today.
Yes. Here we go. The only issue though is he's our executive producer. So
shoot. Yeah.
We transitioned him to being a silent partner. Is that how that goes? Or
listen, nothing's in writing. Okay.
Yeah.
We have no contract signed. I just spent time for a week with a lawyer, and so I'm realizing how much of my life I need to get done in writing.
Yes.
Just a fear. That's all it is. It's just fear that I'm going to be betrayed at every turn, and I don't think that's a trauma response. I think that's just healthy.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It was okay. And maybe you can relate on this. The thing I genuinely dislike the most about being a lead pastor is board meetings.
Sure.
And how litigious they are. We gotta make a call. We gotta do this. We're changing some board members right now, adding and all of this stuff, and it's really great, and we're expanding, and it's good stuff happening. But oh my gosh, I'm the president and CEO of this organization. I should be right? Or no?
No. I mean, some people are built for that stuff. Others are thrust into it.
Yes.
I feel like
it's a means to an end.
Yeah, for sure. It's a necessary evil. Is that the right terminology?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It depends on what's being talked about. Now, here's the thing: when we're in conversation and we're talking about plans and futures and goals, all about it. But to get into it, and then once we talk about something and we go, okay, well, now we got to make a statement of agreement on this, and then I'm just like, I get this is good and it's right and it's how organizations should be run, but oh my gosh, it's just yeah. So I'm impressed by the people who get excited about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, props to them, for loving that and leaning into it. But it's not my bag, baby. To put it in the words of Austin Powers. So, Eric, do you know what it's time for?
Do I have to do the songs?
Yep, you have to.
Because I'm closer related.
Getting to know you, getting to know you, getting to know you, getting to know you.
it's a getting to know you.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. It's time for getting to know you. And so normally I would do some kind of hypothetical to piss Greg off. But I'm gonna do
Yeah.
something else to piss Greg off, since this is one of those when the cat's away, the mice will play moments. So I want to talk about conspiracy theories
Let's go.
and the likelihood of certain ones. So do you have any right now that you are like digging into or researching or anything like that?
Researching, not necessarily. I mean, not to like be totally, I guess this is controversial, but everyone's talking about it. The Epstein list. I mean,
Oh
like
yeah.
the a conspiracy always has surrounded, the actions, capture, the death, and then now what has been documented about the people who are associated with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and like, and the level of silence around it,
Mhm.
and how quick things get silenced. Like, it's what conspiracy theorists like dream of.
Mhm.
Like, oh, now the public knows, like, oh yeah, now it's, and so, so I've always had like that natural conspiracy theorist in me just always goes like, yeah, of course this is happening.
Mhm.
Like this stuff, and also 20 other examples that we just don't know the names because they're not big people.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely, but it's still people of power taking advantage of people not in
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Like, and so, but it's crazy what's going on right now. Like,
Yeah.
and the way the current administration is handling it should be textbook of how to not handle
Sure.
what, like, if you want to dissolve a conspiracy against yourself or your company or your administration, this is textbook how not to do it.
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
like, the craziest, again, not to be overly controversial and political, but I think everyone on both sides of the aisle kind of agree with this now, is that, like, if you built your campaign on the exposure of what is happening behind the scenes, and then when you are in power and you have the opportunity to expose that, and your exposure to it is, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It looks really
nothing.
fishy. Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. It's not like there's something and here's what it is, and something, it doesn't look like what we thought it was going to look like. It's, there's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really? There's no documentation. Like, there's
Right.
no flight logs. There's no, like, nothing. Really? Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So besides all the other evidence that people make 1,000 podcasts about. So that's the one that I'm like, again, I say researching. It's more just like I'm just keeping up to date now, because you don't even have to dive deep to get all the information anymore on this stuff.
Right.
So that's the one. And I guess the larger conspiracy thing on it is there are, I think it's potentially not being released because of the mass amount of people in power, politicians, celebrities, leaders of Wall Street and Fortune 500 companies that would be exposed in this, and it would upside down, like, our system, like,
Sure.
in such a massive way. I mean, they're like, why didn't the Democrats release it? Because I think there's probably Democrats on the list. Like,
Yeah.
that is why. Like,
so for this to get, for that specifically to get politicized is ridiculous, because there's
Yeah.
people from each side, all walks of life on it. And it just, and see, my opinion is maybe more anarchist as far as that goes. Like, and not for the purpose of like wanting chaos, but like,
yeah,
for the purpose of getting corruption out and evil out,
100%.
expose everybody. And
Mhm.
if it takes down a ton of people in power, good.
Yeah.
And again, not to cause chaos, but to purge the
Mhm.
system of evil, or purge society
Mhm.
of evil. Not that
100%.
like other, there's perfect people. I'm not saying that, but like that people are doing these evil things,
Yes.
and there's no ramifications, there's no
Mhm.
punishment for it. I'm like, that is not right.
100%.
And
Yeah.
so
No,
yeah.
I am fully on board with all of that. I'm sure we have no idea like the full ramifications or anything that's related to that. But I think everything that's in the dark will and needs to come into the light. Unfortunately, a lot of times things don't come into the light until those people pass,
Yeah.
and their role and responsibility is absolved because of their passing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It should be sooner, and mainly because there should be, I think, justice for those who have been harmed.
Yeah.
And I think that includes our country. Like,
Yeah.
we should understand what is happening. And I mean, I don't know. I think this is, again, man, I made this, hopefully this isn't too political, but I think we deserve as a country people in power, who have authority. Um, One, everybody's flawed. Everybody's going to do stupid stuff, but we should not have people in power who are doing evil stuff.
Right.
Like, evil is like, we could do right and wrong, but evil seems to be pretty. We can say without getting flagged on YouTube. We could say very specific things are evil, and that is what we're talking about. So, but anyways, I don't know if I have any other conspiracy theories.
Okay, what do you
Okay,
think of the likelihood of the deep state being a real thing? Because I feel like there's a whole bunch of jokes out there about it. I think, and there's actually a lot of people out there who believe it 100%. It's real. I don't know where I fall on it. I don't think it's too far fetched, but also like Greg has said before on this podcast, that the level of coordination and just secrecy required to like do something like that is like it's so great that it's like likely impossible. I'm like, I can see both sides, and so I'm just curious, like what do you think the likelihood of like this deep state controlling everything outside of our government and that kind of thing? What do you think the likelihood is?
I think the side of me who is well read and trying to keep myself educated, I think I lean towards what Greg is talking about, in that we have never been unified on this planet on the level in which some of that stuff, even within our country, to be able to make something like that happen. And I think more of that is being exposed with everything that's going on the last couple of years, is a lack of coordination. That being said, again, this conspiracy theorist in me says that doesn't mean that there aren't people who are trying to do that.
Sure.
So to the like that it's like in order and working, like on the level in which I think most conspiracy, like people who believe in a deep state, go, this is happening and it's on this level of coordination. I don't know if it's that. I do agree that I would agree that there are people trying to make something like that happen, and stumbling probably on the fact that it probably can't happen.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just, and maybe this is just me being like overly pessimistic or skeptic, like, or I've watched too many movies or read too many books type of thing, like, because they talk about like, at a certain point, like you stop at a certain point of like of wealth. Money is not the thing you trade; it's information and power.
Right.
And so money becomes meaningless at a certain level. And so, like, to me, that like someone like an Elon Musk inserts himself into an unofficial office position, he's not trading in money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, well, okay, yeah, he wants to sit in places, official or non-official.
Right. He wants to have power and influence.
So if he's doing that up front, and that's very apparent, he is not the first model of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could, go all the way back to like to like Russia with like Rasputin. Like I know that like the actual Rasputin was, he was, some thought he was like a warlock and all this stuff, and he could never die and all this stuff, but he was an advisor, and, he trafficked in power, so I don't know. I believe in that. What about you?
Yeah, I think about things like so the Illuminati, right? As like that was a real organization, I think in Germany or Bavaria or whatever, in like the 1700s, something like that. It was a real group of people of power who, like they were trying to control things and they were trying to steer outcomes of society and that kind of thing. And it worked for a while. And so I see like that, right? Like if that could happen once, could it happen again? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it'd be a lot harder in today's day and age of it's the information age and digital age and everything. There's a camera on everything and a microphone on everything, and so like it'd be way harder. But I don't think it'd be impossible. I think people are smart. I mean, people can be smart. I should say that people can be smart. People can be sneaky. And if you have enough power and influence, like why couldn't it, And so do I think it 100% is a thing? I can't say that. I think that 100%. Is it a possibility though? I'm not willing to dismiss anything. So,
I my favorite response to my wife on anything is sure, because like it's not yes and it's not no, but it still leans towards the positive. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing, like if she goes like, hey, do you want to go to this new Thai restaurant? I usually go sure, because if it's great, I was in agreement. Yeah, look at this. I was yes, but if it's bad, I was a little hesitant. And you know what? It's basically I'm right either way. So here's I don't know if this is conspiracy, and this information might be out. I think the Coca-Cola recipe at McDonald's is different than everywhere else. Like, have you had a ice like Coca-Cola from McDonald's?
Yeah.
It hits different.
So I've actually heard somebody talk about this before from McDonald's, and they say, and this wasn't like a face-to-face conversation, it was a video I saw, because a lot of people have made that observation. It just tastes different. It tastes way better. Well, apparently there was some research done at McDonald's about temperature that it's dispensed at, and then also the ratio of syrup to water is a thing, right? Because but then there's a third element too. The size of the straw is different than a normal straw, and so the ratio of syrup to water that comes through that bigger straw, and then the temperature that it's dispensed at, all like together, is what makes it taste crazy different, right? And so like I guess there was a lot of research done on McDonald's part to know like how can we make this taste way better, and that's the answer that I got. So I'm like, wow.
I think it's I totally believe. Like hearing like the type of food market research they do at like Disney, like it's like the same level, like they talk about like their popcorn sales. Like essentially they make like they in the same amount, they make this like something like the same amount of money in popcorn sales at Disney as they do in ticket sales.
Holy
like
moly.
It's something crazy like that. I might be like totally off on that, but it's something 1-to-1 that you go, what in the world? Just like it's popcorn, and they
Right.
strategically put it throughout the park
Yeah.
so that you would, and it's like always partnered right next to somewhere to drink because it's like salted at a certain way.
Right.
It's crazy. That
Yeah.
and Baja Blast at Taco Bell. I don't know if you've had Baja Blast like
Mhm.
anywhere else, and you're like, this is not Baja Blast.
I haven't had
Like,
it anywhere else, but at Taco
Yeah.
Bell, it's
It
fire,
hits.
man.
It hits.
Yeah.
Give me a gordita crunch and a Baja Blast, and I'm gonna have a good night.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a bad morning, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a good night.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
So cool,
Okay.
we did it.
Yeah. Really quick. One conspiracy I'd love to talk about sometime. We don't have to do it now, but
Okay.
just planting the bug for another time is the conspiracy on the Titanic sinking and the different theories around it. Have you heard this?
I don't know any of them, so
So JP Morgan,
Uh-huh.
the founder of JP Morgan Financial Trading and all that, like super rich guy.
Yeah.
Apparently he was supposed to be on the Titanic, the maiden
Okay.
voyage of the Titanic, but also there was like other really rich people, John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim and like all these other people. Well, who JP Morgan and I think like I think the Rothschilds, who are another prominent, really rich family, they were in favor of creating the Federal Reserve in the United States. But like this John Jacob Astor, Guggenheim, all these other people who were on the Titanic that had power, they were against it. And so the theory is that JP Morgan and I think the Rothschilds had something to do with the Titanic sinking and taking out their competitors so that they could establish the Federal Reserve, because it wasn't too long after the Titanic went down that the Federal Reserve was established. So I don't remember all the details going into it, now, but just planting that bug for another time. So yeah,
I mean, people have done crazier things.
Yeah. So
nice.
Thank you for indulging me. Today I have the topic, and we're gonna try the 7 questions game, but it's just gonna be you. So you got no Greg to go back and forth with. So get started with the 7 questions.
So we're doing a topic, not a story.
Okay.
No. We're doing a story.
Yeah, we're doing a story.
Okay, great. Sweet. Okay, so first question was story, topic or story, or are we doing a topic? You said no. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, 1. So we're doing a story. Is it in the New Testament?
No.
Okay. Is it in the Pentateuch?
No.
The first 5 books?
No.
Okay. Is it about a king?
There are kings in the story, but
okay. Cool. That narrows it down.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the king is the main character.
Okay. Okay. 2 more. Is it about Solomon?
No.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just got to take a swing. David dancing with the Ark of the Covenant.
No, but that's a good one.
Okay. All right. I'm out. You win.
Okay. So I hope this isn't viewed as cheating or cheap, but I'm doing Joshua 10, Sun Stand Still. So for our listeners, we had this conversation off air when I was in Nebraska. Me and Greg tried doing this episode without Eric when Eric was unavailable, but
we're gonna do it right.
Yeah, well, my audio didn't record, and so all you could hear was Greg and none of my questions, and that doesn't make for a good episode when I was the one leading the episode. So we are recording now, so we're going to give it another shot. And so Joshua 10, the sun stands still. Let me give some context before I start reading. So God God freed Israel from Egypt, slavery in Egypt. He said, I'm going to lead you to a land that's going to be yours, a land flowing with milk and honey. And he's, as they're getting closer to doing this, God tells them, you got to drive out everybody who's in the land. Don't leave anybody, drive them all out. And so they're like, okay, we'll do it. Well, Moses dies and Joshua is the new leader, and God commissions Joshua, hey, it's time to start going. And so he's like, all right, let's do it. And so they take down Jericho, and that's the walls of Jericho. And that's another weird story we can get into another time. They take out the city of, or the town of Ai, which was a total destruction. Like, I don't think they lost even one soldier, total destruction. And so the king of Jerusalem hears that these Israelite people are coming, and he heard that they destroyed Ai and they destroyed Jericho, and now they're coming for Jerusalem. And so this king is like, he's really like nervous. And so he makes an alliance with 5 other kings from 5 other towns. He's like, hey, these Israelites are coming, like, let's band together and let's defeat them and make sure that, they don't take from us what's ours, type thing. And so that is the setting. And so Joshua chapter 10, starting in verse 7, we'll start there and then we'll read from there. It says, so Joshua and his entire army, including his best warriors, left Gilgal and set out for Gibeon. Do not be afraid of them, the Lord said to Joshua, for I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of them will be able to stand up to you. Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. The Lord threw them into a panic, and the Israelites slaughtered great numbers of them at Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road to Bet Horon, killing them all along the way to Azekah and Makkedah. Hopefully I said those right. As the Amorites retreated down the road to Bet Horon, the Lord destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed with the sword. On the day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites, Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. He said, let the sun stand still over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Aijalon. So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nation of Israel had defeated its enemies. And so that is the weird story that I wanted to talk about today. The sun standing still, the moon staying in its place. Like, what are your initial thoughts of this story?
Yeah, I mean, there's in the skies, you have things like eclipses and things like that. But so many, it would be interesting because so many of those types of signs were in their importance and meaning were in like pagan cultures. Like it would be something is being called from a god that, a god of war or wrath or something like that. And so this would be a terrifying, not only are your armies just being obliterated by storms and all this stuff, but then suddenly this wrath god, sets the skies, the heavens still. It's like, just, I can't imagine like the panic that is happening. This is a wild story just because of like you have these, you have this generation that was raised in the desert that is just going to war, like just going through. And Joshua is like, like a prayerful warrior, but where like Moses was, he was there to lead and to bring law. Joshua was there to just bring the sword. And there's like this story highlights that, I think, more than Jericho and so many of the others. Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah. I didn't read something earlier in the chapter that is important to the story. So it said they marched toward Gibeon, right? And so these Gibeonites, they heard also that Israel was on this tear and they were destroying these cities, and so Gibeon comes to the Israelites and are like, hey, we're from out of town, make a treaty with us. And they're like, are you really from out of town? And they're like, yep, we're from out of town, make a treaty with us. And so they're like, all right, we'll make a treaty. It says this in chapter 9. Let me see if I can find it really quick. To prove that they were from out of town, the Gibeonites showed them food that they had been traveling with, and this food was like moldy. And see, like our food isn't good anymore because we've been traveling so long. You know, that's the thing. And then in Joshua chapter 9 verse 14, it says, so the Israelites examined their food, but they did not consult the Lord. So there's this idea here that Joshua, being led by the Lord, makes this decision to make a treaty with these Gibeonites without consulting the Lord, which doesn't seem like that big a deal on the surface, but it is a big deal because back in, I think it's Exodus or Deuteronomy, one of those.
Okay.
The Lord gives Moses a command, like, don't make any treaties with anyone in the land that I'm sending you to. And so these people come to them and like, let's make a treaty. And instead of consulting to the Lord, they use their own kind of wisdom and reasoning, and they end up disobeying the Lord. They make a treaty with this. And so these 5 kings that I mentioned at the beginning when I first started talking, they are like, let's destroy Gibeon too. And so Gibeon's like, oh no, Israel help, and so that's kind of what led up to all this.
That makes sense.
So how should we interpret the miracle of the sun standing still? Like, do you read it literally? Is it poetic? Like is it a metaphor? Like how are we supposed to interpret that? What do you think?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Because go ahead.
Sorry, first of all, I was going to say, I think a lot of people who read that story focus in on that, and they're like, that's the miracle. How are we supposed to read that?
Yeah, I mean, that's we've kind of talked about this a little bit with some of the other episodes where we're nearing a point of history in which we can begin to mark dates and events to the Exodus and then the forming of the Promised Land into a nation, and then the separate nations and kings and battles. So like we are in this like time period where we can find at least the beginnings of logs of something like this happening, so like an entire day being missing from a calendar is a big deal. Like that's that's significant in history, and that would have ramifications like through the rest of the globe, because the reality that we would read in this is the sun didn't stand still, the earth stood still. From our understanding now of the galaxy or the solar system that then fits within the galaxy is we rotate around this. We are in that gravitational pull. So this also then means that then the moon then stopped on Earth's gravity as well. So there's cosmic forces of nature, to really put this in perspective as a real life miracle. And is that in God's power? Absolutely. Like that is the level of awesomeness and power of the creator of the universe, in which he can deem how the universe holds itself together. So I'm on that end, I'm 100% behind it. And then the part of me that just that enjoys the story being poetic. I think for me, it holds enough weight for God's timing to exist in its own way. You know, like an eclipse happening, or a point in rotation in which it feels like the sun is standing in its own place, and so and even if for a moment that moment becomes a landmark of God's perfect timing in the middle of battle, you know what I mean? Like I love the I can't remember who it was. You know, it might have been a Rob Bell or Louis Giglio talking about the star shining over Bethlehem as the sign for the wise men coming to see Jesus, that they would look into the stars and there'd be evidence in the heavens that something new was happening in this area. And I love the looking at how we can understand speed of light now, that in order to trigger that event at Jesus' time, God had to set the supernova in place of a star in a far off galaxy in a distant solar system. He would have to set the supernova at the beginning of creation for the speed of light to hit. I like that poetic nature instead of God just went star blown out in that moment, that he has a long-term plan. Right. And it is perfectly in his ordained. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, 100%. The forethought that had to go into it for it to work out exactly like that. Like, just to me, it speaks to the sovereignty, you know, of our God. I personally, as far as like this being literal or metaphorical or poetic or whatever, like, it doesn't matter to me. I know, like, I feel like that's a common landing point with things like this on this podcast is like, that's not the point. That's not the point. I'm not opposed to it being literal. Could it have been literal? 100%. I think it could have been literal. We serve a God who made stuff out of nothing, right? The ex nihilo thing, something out of nothing. Like, it's possible for our God. Could it also have been metaphorical? It could have been. That's not beyond that, like the scope of the literature that the Israelites used to tell stories. You know that. So, like, it could be either or. And the reason I'm okay saying that is because that's not the sun standing still thing is not the point of the story. Like I said, a lot of people read that and they focus on that as the point of the story, but that's not the miracle. The miracle, in my opinion, is that God fought for Israel.
Yes,
that's the miracle. He didn't just leave them to their own deal and like, well, hope it works out, guys. Nope, like, he was fighting for them. And I love that in the scripture it says that God sent a hailstorm to also like kill these armies coming against Israel, and that the hail killed way more than the Israelites did with the sword. Like, I'm like, that's the miracle, man. Like, that is what people should focus on. The sun standing still thing, like, it's cool to imagine, it's cool to think about, like God affecting the whole universe to prove whatever, you know, to answer a prayer, you know, like bold prayers or however people want to, you know, think about it. But like, that's not the miracle in my mind. The miracle is that God fought for Israel, and that he came through when they needed him, you know. And so,
and I think too, like your earlier, when you brought in that context of the treaty with Gibeon, the contrast we're getting from that passage to this passage is allowing God to do to let him fight for you. So instead of like the logical best thing is for Joshua to initiate treaties, is to come and say, listen, there's already people here. There's, you know, let's work with them, and God is going to be God, and he'll give us authority over them over time, and all this stuff. And this is all in man's power. And then you get this scenario where the odds are so greatly outnumbered. And instead of so many times we see in the Exodus story where the Israelites are afraid of a mass number. But even kind of talking about, when we did our episode on Balaam, I would encourage people to go back and listen to that. It's God is fighting battles for us, even if we're not even seeing it. And so like, I see Joshua's prayer, not as this like declaration of like, all right, now I'm going to initiate this miracle. It's all right, God, I'm going to like, you control the sun and the stars, and it's this declaration of letting go and letting him be God, and going on behalf, like, and so, I think that miracle happening within man, it becomes a really important turning point, for then the kingdom that comes after, and then the later kings and judges and all this stuff that we see become like, we start to see like, we see them slowly building up to, well, we're going to take control back for ourselves. Like we're going to, it's like, well, that's not how we got here. Mm-hmm. Like we got here by giving him control, and then the way we are finding ourselves in trouble so much. I mean, to this day, like the times where I feel like I am, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, just messing up so many times is whenever I'm just trying to take control, and just not allowing God to be God. That's I think a part of the story I'm really getting out of this.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's also important to note also, like for us here in 2025, right? Like what do we take from this? That I think God fights for us when we're unaware of it. Yes, I think that's right on. Also, though, too, that like God gave Israel this explicit instruction not to make treaties. Right. And it was for a really good reason. It wasn't like I'm just trying to be a dictator and just do what I say. It was like, no, if you make treaties, you're going to fall into their way of life. And I don't want that for you. I want you to be different. So don't do this. And they went into this treaty. The first opportunity that comes their way to obey that command, they don't consult the Lord at all. And and they enter this treaty. They disobey essentially, and God still fights for them. God still, He still blesses them. He still takes care of them. Still makes sure that they're safe. And I just think that's instructive to me that like God taking care of us, God blessing us isn't contingent on us doing what He says necessarily, right? Like it's not transactional. It's not you do this for me and then I do this. No, God is going to bless when He sees fit, regardless. And I just think that's something that's so good to me, and that's something to delight in, if you know, to use churchy language. That's something to take delight in, is that God is going to bless whether or not we're doing everything we know we should, or like it's
I love that, like, because I think as someone who grew up in the church, so much of my hang-ups, because of trying my best to learn about God, hearing teachings from people doing their best to learn about God, there's so much of what we try to do, even in spite of the message of like we can't earn God's love and we don't deserve His grace, yet He gives it anyways. We still do not accept it. Like we do not accept like that. What you're talking about right now is that like, even when you totally go against what He has said, He has not stopped giving His grace. You know, like I to me, it's He is still, living out Torah. He is to the Shema prayer of He is rich in mercy, like that. This is the act of mercy. And I think there's a good conversation of, well, why didn't He provide mercy upon the 5 kings and kingdoms and stuff like that? Like it's again not a part of the story, and not the thing that we're trying to answer right now. But God is choosing His people, and He's choosing those who are going to follow Him and be obedient to that. Like a thing I'm kind of working on. And give me your thoughts on this. I'm doing some writing right now on this. Is I've heard it before that God's love language is obedience. Have you heard that before?
I have not heard that.
And it's like how can you tell God I love you? You know, there's tons of songs and prayers, absolutely. But more importantly, what did you do? Have you followed? Have you done the best you can? Like sometimes the you know, my wife is and myself, I'm still learning how to love her best. And the way I can show it, even if I'm not good at it, is I'm trying. And it's evident that I'm trying, you know? And so that's listening. And what is she asking for? Okay, do this and do this. And so I am, in a way, being obedient to the person that I love, and saying, you have made clear what it is to be in relationship with you. I'm going to follow that. And so now on the flip side, God's love language to us is not obedience. His love language to us is grace. And how does He show His grace? It's through acts of mercy and forgiveness. That is the most evident way that we're ever, you know, grace is all over us. The fact that you're breathing and that we're listening, and across the world, apparently, because we have listeners in India, like that we all have this communication to each other to be able to hear the message of grace. Like that in and of itself is great, but sometimes that feels intangible sometimes. But what does feel tangible is I should have been punished and He didn't. I needed help and He provided compassion through an act of mercy. I very clearly did something wrong against them. And instead of seeking revenge and justice, which would be deserved, He chose to forgive. And like that's such tangible grace, that if you're looking to feel His love, look for His acts of mercy and forgiveness. You know, and this story, I think that is his, you know, in the Bible being that sometimes called a love letter, you know, from God to His people. Ultimately, it's a story about Him, but this, how is He displaying love? Well, to David, he provided mercy. He allowed him to still be king despite his sin. You know, to the Israelites, he fought for them, even though just before they did this wrong. You know, like I think there's just something beautiful to tie into this and see. And
so to the idea that God's love language from us to Him is obedience, I think that tracks with as far as what Jesus said. Like, if you love me, you'll obey my commands, right? Like, He doesn't say if you love me, you'll spend time. If you love me, you'll give me your tithes, you know, like if you love me, you'll obey. And so I think there's definite, you know,
and then how did God so love the world?
Right. He gave
His Son, and for sacrifice, for, you know, example of right living, and then to provide redemption to humanity.
But the theme of God's love language being grace toward us, right? Like the way He shows us love is offering us grace. Like that's apparent, I think, throughout the scriptures, including this story, including the Old Testament. I think of initially, I think of when we talked about how Israel did the exact opposite of what God told them in this story, and God still fought for them. Immediately I thought of Genesis 15, where God made the covenant with Abraham, and the covenant, He took all the responsibility on Himself. Like, I'm gonna make this happen at my expense, right? I'm like, that's what we're seeing here. I think of Judges, when Israel is in this cycle of doing what's right in their own eyes, which is evil in the eyes of the Lord, and they fall into the oppression of another nation, and then they cry out, and then God rescues them. He doesn't have to rescue them. They deserve to die because they did what was right in their own eyes, right? But in his great grace and mercy, he rescues them. And that, again, that's a theme throughout scripture. And for any of those who, like, you say, you brought up that question, some people would say, well, why didn't God show grace and mercy to those 5 kings of those nations, whatever? Like, I think there's an easy answer, in my opinion. And this is kind of an aside, like Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. God said, I'm going to bless those who bless you. Yep. I'm going to curse those who treat you with contempt, right? Like Gibeon, they wanted to bless Israel, and so God left them alone.
Yeah.
The other 5 kings, they were going to destroy Israel. And God's like, not on my watch, And 100%. So like, he's being true to his word, in my opinion. Yeah. That's so, so really quick, are there like themes of foreshadowing in this story? Because I think I've heard before that there are shades of Jesus in this story, and the victory over the 5 kings is symbolic of Jesus's victory over sin and death. Like, what do you think about that?
I've never done any work to make that connection. I mean, I think to the I can hear Greg's voice in this podcast without him being here, of like, not the point of the story.
Yeah.
If you want to make those connections, good on you. It doesn't take away, but it also kind of doesn't add to the story at all. Like, it doesn't make Joshua 10 more important, and it doesn't make when Jesus dies on the cross and there's an eclipse and the veil tears and the dead rise, you don't need to add every moment of some cosmic event, cosmic mean that, outside of Earth's atmosphere, that some sort of, thing happening, outside of the fact that God can do whatever he wants.
Right.
I think you could just run that theme. I don't know. Again, me loving being a storyteller, I am hesitant to just like overly add. Joshua is an important figure in the Bible, and to get from Moses to Kings and ultimately, I think, to David, being an archetype for Jesus. Joshua is not an archetype for Jesus. Like, Joshua comes with the sword, and Jesus says completely opposite. I didn't come with the sword, because those who live by the sword die by the sword. This is. So I don't know. I would be, I would more likely look at stories of a David, of an Elijah, of Abraham, of Adam. These are all archetypes of Jesus later on. Joshua is not one of them. And so I wouldn't overly stretch that.
I am with you, and I largely, this generally speaking, I think people get this backwards. I think people read the Old Testament and try to find, where can I find Jesus in this? When I think the opposite happened, as far as like these stories in the Old Testament happened to teach us something about God and his character and how he feels about us. Yes. And then Jesus's life and the stories we read in the New Testament are actually just confirming what we read in the Old Testament and actually taking them up a notch. Yeah, so I think people who try to find Jesus in these stories, they're reading it backwards. I think of like when Jesus calls himself the bread of life, right? Like people then read Leviticus and talk about the showbread and like, oh, was this foreshadowing Jesus? No, Jesus was actually using a picture when he called himself the bread of life. When he talked about, he correlated himself to that. He was actually using something that they would have known fully what it was to make a point about himself, right? Yeah. Like Leviticus wasn't foreshadowing Jesus. Jesus was using scripture to describe himself. And I think this is another situation of that, like that you talk about the correlation in astronomical events between Joshua 10 and the crucifixion of Jesus, right? Like if there is any correlation, it's the New Testament helping trigger thoughts of this, like God is still fighting for us.
Yeah.
When we don't deserve it, God is fighting for us. And that's what the crucifixion and death and resurrection of Jesus is. He's God fighting for us on this spiritual level, you know? And so to read Jesus into the Old Testament, I don't think is correct. I think the other way, right? Like the New Testament, the stories of Jesus are supposed to help us trigger thoughts of the Old Testament. So
it's difficult, like, because you can conflate, you can like overly add that Jesus' fulfillment of what you're talking about, of the purposes of the Old Testament of law or the stories, and again his redemptive work is and then like that's in there, but that's because he is God and he's been preaching that same message for a long time,
right?
So like, yes, you can find the message, but like there's, especially in like non-denominational circles, the effort of always trying to find Jesus in everything, or you need to end your message. Like if you're preaching a sermon, you need to end in Jesus every time. Like I've heard that before. I had a pastor I served under who was his entire like I wrote a sermon and I didn't end with Jesus in the sermon. And his critique of the message was, well, where's Jesus? Where's Jesus in this message? We're preaching Jesus because we do a salvation at the end of the service, and it needs to end with, we're always being called back to Jesus. We're always being called back to Jesus. And I'm like, I'm with you. Like I get the heart, I get the intention, and even to the point of like what a salvation call. I'm a sinner in need of a savior. God, I give you my life. I acknowledge that I've sinned against you. Like I'm all about sinner's prayer. In that it acknowledges, I confess with my mouth and believe in my heart that Jesus is Lord, and then I be with him for eternity. Totally on the side with that, but the trying to like overly word your like something like a message or a devotional, or you're leading a small group, that you have to read this story and then figure out how you're going to end it with Jesus. Just stop. Like, just let it be this, and let Jesus be a part of the Trinity. Let him be God, and know that he is there. Like this was, yes, we see an acknowledgement of Yahweh, and that is ultimately very important in this story. But in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Jesus is the Word. He's the living Word, so he's there.
For sure.
Just let it be that.
For sure.
And then let your message just be the message, and let the story of Joshua and God saving the Israelites lead people to a closer relationship with God. That's good. That would be my call.
That's good. So I have I want to read this article that I found for this story, and we can maybe talk about it a little bit, or maybe just let it hang and end with that. But I think it's really interesting and just something to consider in this whole conversation. So here's that article. It says, Cambridge researchers announced in a paper published in the Royal Astronomical Society journal Astronomy and Geophysics, they have pinpointed the date of the biblical account of Joshua stopping the sun, which they claim is the day of the oldest eclipse ever recorded, October 30th, 1207 BCE. So that's 3,232 years ago. Okay. The paper reinforces research published earlier the year that this article came out by Israeli scientists, which also interpreted the biblical story as referring to an eclipse on the same date. The researchers rejected earlier Chinese and Ugaritic records of eclipses as unreliable, concluding that the Bible contains the only record of a solar eclipse prior to 1000 BCE. So then it goes on in the story to explain Joshua 10, and then it quotes the scripture, and then it goes on to say this: if these words are describing a real observation, then a major astronomical event was taking place. The question for us to figure out is, what the text actually means, said paper co-author Colin Humphreys from the University of Cambridge's Department of Materials Science and Metallurgy. It's so long. These names are so long. Modern English translations, which follow the King James translation of 1611, usually interpret this text to mean the sun and moon stopped moving, Humphreys explained. But going back to the original Hebrew text, we determined that an alternative meaning could be that the sun and moon just stopped doing what they normally do. They stopped shining.
Yeah.
Humphreys said that if the biblical account means that the light from the sun appeared to stop shining, it may refer to an eclipse.
Yeah.
This interpretation is supported by the fact that the Hebrew word translated stand still has the same root as a Babylonian word used in ancient astronomical texts to describe eclipses, he said. Researchers were unable to find any eclipse record or any eclipse occurring during the time that the Israelites were in Canaan. However, they only considered total eclipses, where the moon passes between the sun and the earth, blocking the sunlight completely. Their new research found, however, that an annular eclipse, in which the moon passes directly in front of the sun but is too far away to cover the disk completely, leading to a ring of fire appearance. An annular eclipse occurred on October 30th, 1207 BCE. The researchers note that the ancient world did not distinguish linguistically between total and annular eclipses. Cambridge University said in its statement, from their calculations, they determined that the only annular eclipse visible from Canaan between 1500 BCE and 1050 BCE was on October 30th, 1207 BCE in the afternoon. Independent evidence that the Israelites were in Canaan between 1500 BCE and 1050 BCE can be found in the Merneptah Stele, the Cambridge University statement said. So the Merneptah Stele is a Egyptian document. I just thought that was really interesting to the conversation, that there could be some astrological or astronomical. There could be some astronomical proof that this story really happened. So like literally happened, which is crazy to me.
I'm on board. Great. I think it's cool. As much as we can do to see that the true story of the Bible is aligned in the true story of the history of Earth. Great. Like whatever we can do to bring validity to the word outside of the truth that comes from faith, let it strengthen our faith, but to the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, even if not, I still believe, so dude, that's cool. I like that. I like people are doing that work.
Yeah, for real. It doesn't change the story at all, like the point, in my opinion, but it just to me helps like validate like the word, right? Like that scripture, like if this is true, if all this is true, then like there's validity to this, even more validity from an outside perspective to the scriptures, in my opinion, right? So I think it's really cool. So
it's awesome. Dude, great story, man.
Yeah, man, that's what I got today. So let's get out of here. If you're enjoying the Odd Testament, we'd love your support, and the best way to support us, the best way to help us keep bringing all this odd content your way is to show us some love. And here's how you can do that. First, take a moment to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform, whether that be YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We would love 5 stars and a review. If it's 1 star, give us 5 star, but put in the review why it's a 1 star. That will help us. If you don't want to help us, you can still help us out by doing that. That would be fantastic. Next, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Again, whether it's on YouTube or wherever you get a podcast, like make sure you hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on our latest episodes. The episodes drop every Monday, so stay up to date with that. Be on the lookout for those. And finally, follow us on social media for updates, fun content, highlights of episodes, all that good stuff. Join the conversation on social media. Answer our getting to know you questions, whether it's whether it's a conspiracy theory or it's a hypothetical. You want to stomp a horse to death to help free political prisoners, like whatever it is. Join the conversation. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. Your support means the world to us, and together we can keep bringing this awesome content to the world. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.